welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Today we're digging into something. Oh, it feels futuristic, but it actually has this really deep history. Nuclear propulsion for space.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
We've got quite the stack of research here, articles, notes, all about this tech. And our mission really is just to unpack it, find the core ideas, understand the potential, but also the, let's be honest, pretty big hurdles.
Absolutely. And it starts with a problem, right? Chemical rockets. They're amazing, but they sort of hit a fundamental limit.
The fuel itself.
Exactly. It's energy density. Hydrogen, for example, great stuff, but it packs about 142 megajoules per kilogram. Uranium fission, though, you're talking 80 million megajoules per kilogram.
Whoa, okay, 80 million versus 142. That's quite a gap.
It's enormous for going deep, like Mars. That difference changes everything. It's about cutting down those long transit times.
Okay, so massive energy. How does that actually, push a rocket? I see this term, specific impulse, ISP.
Right, ISP. Think of it like gas mileage for your rocket.
No.
It's how much thrust, how much push you get for every bit of propellant you use each second. Chemical rockets max out around, 450, maybe 465 seconds?
Which is good,
But with nuclear, here's the trick. You're not burning the nuclear fuel like propellant. You use the fission energy, that immense heat, to superheat something else, usually liquid hydrogen, really light stuff.
So you heat up hydrogen instead.
To incredible temperatures. Then you shoot that super hot hydrogen out the nozzle. Because it's so light and so hot, you get a way higher exhaust velocity. And that jacks up your ISP, maybe 900 seconds, maybe even thousands, depending on the system.
And higher ISP means less fuel needed.
Less fuel for the same job, yeah. Or maybe, more importantly, for crewed missions, much faster trip.
Right, cutting months off that Mars journey. That's huge for reducing radiation exposure, right?
Exactly. It's a major safety benefit.
So how do we actually do this? The sources mention two main ways.
Two main paths, yeah. First is nuclear thermal propulsion, NTP.
NTP.
This is more direct. You basically run liquid hydrogen straight through a reactor core, heat it up intensely, like 4,800 Fahrenheit, that's over 2,700 Kelvin, crazy hot.
Wow.
That hot gas blasts out the nozzle, high thrust and high efficiency compared to chemical. It's around 900 seconds.
And that's the idea behind Draco, that DARPA NASA project.
Precisely. Demonstration rocket for agile cislunar operations. They're shooting for 800 seconds ISP, maybe more.
And they're using a different fuel type than the old days, HALU.
Yeah, high assay, low enriched uranium. Less than 20% enrichment. It's partly a non-proliferation thing compared to the older, highly enriched stuff.
Makes sense. And the plan is an orbital test, launched cold.
Right, around 2027 maybe. Launch it inactive, then fire it up way out in a safe high orbit.
Okay, so that's NTP. What's the second path?
That's nuclear electric propulsion, or NEP.
NEP. Different approach.
Totally. Here, the reactor isn't directly heating propellant. It's basically a power plant. It generates electricity.
And that electricity powers
electric thrusters, things like ion drives or Hall effect thrusters. These are super efficient. They accelerate charged particles. ISP could be like 10,000 seconds or even higher.
10,000. But there's a catch, right?
Oh, yeah. Very low thrust. It's like a whisper compared to NTP's roar.
So slow and steady acceleration.
Exactly. Build up speed over a long time. Great for cargo, robotic missions way out past Mars where solar panels don't work well. It's power independent of the sun.
But it competes with solar electric, like the APS system.
It does, yeah. Advanced solar electric propulsion, like AEPS, is already flying, lower risk maybe for the inner solar system. But NEP offers much higher ISP, around 2,800s for AEPS versus potentially 10,000 plus for NEP.
Okay, this all sounds promising, but you mentioned history.
Ah, yes. Project Rover, Nerve. Back in the Cold War era, 55 to 73.
And the sources say they were actually really successful.
Technically, incredibly so. They did like 20 ground tests, they proved it worked, got the ISP numbers, 825, 900 seconds, showed reliability, restarts. The engines were basically ready.
So why did it stop?
Politics and budgets, basically. Not tech failure. Post-Apollo, the big Mars missions got cut, Vietnam War was draining money, political will just faded.
Wow, so technical success isn't enough.
Nope, it's a major cautionary tale. And, DARCO.
Yeah.
There was recent news about potential funding cuts in FY26. History might be rhyming.
Oof, deja vu.
Yeah. Though the landscape is different now. You've got experienced companies like BWXT building the DARCO reactor, and newer startups too, some even looking at, fusion propulsion concepts down the line. Very speculative, but out there.
But the same kinds of challenges are still around, right?
Absolutely. Technically, you still need materials that can handle insane heat. You need to manage liquid hydrogen boil-off for months. NEP needs to shed waste heat effectively in space. Hard problem.
And regulations must be complex.
Oh, yeah. You've got specific policies, NSPM 20, multiple agencies, FAA, NRC, DOE. Safety is everything. Launching cold, high graveyard orbits. It all adds complexity and cost.
Plus public perception, I imagine.
Definitely. Nuclear always carries that baggage, fairly or unfairly. And cost is always a factor. These aren't cheap systems.
And now, there's Starship. Reusable rockets.
Exactly. That's the new competitor Nervia never faced. If you can launch tons of chemical fuel cheaply, does nuclear still have that killer advantage? It needs to prove it enables missions you just can't do otherwise, not just do them slightly better or faster.
So connecting this back to, us, the listener, why should we care?
Because this tech, if it pans out, it fundamentally changes our reach. It's about getting humans to Mars much faster, much safer, exploring the outer planets with capable probes. It really could unlock the solar system.
So huge potential proven concepts, but facing these old ghosts and new hurdles.
That's the crux of it. Can that strategic need for speed, for access, finally push through the budget fights, the regulations, the public concerns that stopped Nerva? Or does history repeat, especially now with cheap, heavy launch potentially offering another way?
A really big question to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.